Hello, ladies and gentlemen. You are back once again with the Economancer. Today, we're going to explore the intersection of Adam Smith's moral sentiments and Husserl's intersubjectivity. So, we're going to briefly touch on who Adam Smith is, what the moral sentiment is, and then we're going to be looking at what Husserl's work was, which we've already kind of done a video, so we're just going to be bouncing into that a little bit. But kind of a general overview. So Smith was an 18th century economist. He believed that moral sentiments such as empathy and sympathy play a crucial role in human interactions and market behavior. Husserl, a 20th century philosopher, developed the concept of intersubjectivity, which posits that our understanding of the world is shaped by our interactions with others. By combining these two perspectives, we aim to gain a deeper understanding of how moral considerations and social interactions shape our economic and social systems. So thank you for joining us on this journey of discovery. So Adam Smith's moral sentiment is a central aspect of his moral and political philosophy. The theory of moral sentiments is set out in his work, The Theory of Moral Sentiments. This is in 1759. In this work, Smith argues that humans have a natural capacity for sympathy, or the ability to understand and share the feelings of others. He believes that this capacity for sympathy is what allows us to develop moral sentiments or feelings about what is right and what is wrong. Smith argues that moral sentiments are not innate or God-given, but rather they are acquired through our interactions with others. He believes that as we observe and interact with others, we develop a sense of what is appropriate and inappropriate behavior. Smith also argues that moral sentiments are shaped by social norms and conventions. He believes that these norms and conventions are necessary for society to function, but they also limit our ability to fully understand the moral sentiments of others. Smith's concept of moral sentiment is an important aspect of his broader moral and political philosophy, which emphasizes the importance of individual freedom, free markets, and limited government. He believed that moral sentiments, along with the invisible hand of the market, would lead to a harmonious and just society. So if we think about it in kind of a summary glance, Adam Smith's concept of a moral sentiment refers to the feelings and judgments that people make about what is right and wrong, and that these are formed through interactions with others, observation, and social norms and conventions. The moral sentiment, when combined with the invisible hand in his mind, would lead to the harmonious and just society that would allow for capitalism to be best, which is something that a lot of people point to when it comes to like criticisms of capitalism. Like, well, capitalism as envisioned by Adam Smith was associated with a strict moral sentiment based on this kind of mimicry. All right, so Adam Smith's theory of moral sentiment is primarily associated with his moral and political philosophy. While looking at Edmund Husserl's phenomenology, it's primarily associated with his work in epistemology, ontology, and the philosophy of the mind. Both these theories really have a different focus, and it's interesting to see what an integration would be like and how would that come out, especially if we did like a larger study on this. But today we're just going to be jumping into it, just touching our toes. So Smith's moral sentiment theory focuses on how individuals understand and share the feelings of others, and how this capacity for sympathy is what allows us to develop moral sentiments. Now again, Husserl's phenomenology on the other hand emphasizes the importance of subjective experience and how it is the foundation of knowledge. So if we're trying to put these two theories together or integrate them, we have to understand that they both have different perspectives on human behavior and the nature of knowledge. Adam Smith's theory focuses on our capacity for sympathy, and that allows us to understand and share feelings with others, and how this capacity for sympathy is what develops these moral sentiments. However, in contrast, Husserl's concept of intersubjectivity focuses on how our understanding of the world and knowledge is shaped by our interactions with others, specifically in how we share and co-create meaning. If we think about it this way, both of these theories highlight the importance of social interaction in shaping our understanding of the world. They focus on different aspects of this process. Smith's theory focuses on how capacity for sympathy shapes these moral sentiments. Husserl's concept of intersubjectivity focuses on how our interactions with others shape our understanding. So, in a way, you could say that Smith's theory of moral sentiment is technically a subset of Husserl's concept of intersubjectivity, as moral sentiments are a specific aspect of human experience and understanding of the world, but not only the aspect of it, because it is also associated with the communicative processes that we have, whether that would be direct face-to-face communication, whether that is some broader mass communication for the societal system. Now, if you just think about it as a comparison, it's a rather interesting comparison where, Husserl came after, but his is a much broader framework. Um, but if you really wanted to dive into this, which I haven't, I just thought of this on my own, so take this for what it's worth. There could probably be somebody out there who's done this work. I didn't read it, so we'll see. Now, let's think about integrating them. Smith's theory of moral sentiment and Husserl's concept of intersubjectivity, they share those similarities that we talked about earlier. They both focus on the role of human interaction and social interaction in shaping our understanding of the world. But they do focus on different aspects of human experience. So if we were thinking about integrating it, let's think about considering how our capacity for sympathy, as outlined by Smith, shapes our moral sentiments, but also how these sentiments are shaped and shared through our interactions with others, as described by Husserl's concept of intersubjectivity. In this integration, the capacity for sympathy would be seen as the foundation for the moral sentiments, but these sentiments would be further developed and shared through our interactions with others. The moral sentiments, as a result, would not only be shaped by our own experience, but also by the experiences of others in this shared communication framework. And so this is kind of how you could have the idea of one person having their own moral sentiment, right? That's the operationally closed system. But then we have this functional openness to the system because we have to also interact with others, whether that's developing this grander moral sentiment for society, or whether it's strictly in the communicative processes and understanding someone else from other parts of our society, such as being empathetic and sympathetic to them. Now, we can also integrate these theories by considering how Husserl's phenomenology, which emphasizes the importance of subjective experience, can be used to understand how moral sentiments are formed through our interactions with others. Phenomenology could provide a framework for understanding how our world and the moral sentiments are co-created through our interactions with others. And then the last kind of potential integration point is to consider how Husserl's theory of intersubjectivity and Smith's theory of moral sentiment can be used to understand how society and moral sentiments are shaped by social norms and conventions, as well as how moral sentiments can be used to shape society and the norms themselves. And you also have to think about it this way when we're discussing this. If there's a feedback effect from the moral sentiments that we create as a group, right? So we have this intersubjectivity that allows for these moral sentiments, this empathy to be built upon, and that leads to where we're at in society. And then we also have this notion that we have institutional stressors. So think about it this way. There is top-down causation, that's institutional causation. Then we have bottom-up causation, and that would be associated with how norms and those values and those co-created meanings lead to changes in the institution. So laws don't just come out of nowhere. It's not just a group of people get together and go, boom, we have a law now. There is obviously some type of group dynamic that leads to this law. And that even happens with kings and so on and so forth. And if you move into a democracy, it may not be all of the people that are associated with that rule are going to be the ones bringing it out or taking it to be a rule, but it's some type of norm or value that's within the system that then becomes codified in the actual legal and legislative framework. And that's really important to think about when we're discussing these ideas of intersubjectivity, how information and communication work in society. What was the original idea behind capitalism coming from Adam Smith, and how it was based on this theory of moral sentiment, which was what he was talking about when he's talking about the butcher doesn't do this for you because he feels bad for you in one way. He's doing it out of his own self-interest. But that self-interest in and of itself develops into a moral landscape that we all can live in. And that is where capitalism is at its best. So a lot of economists and later workers on Adam Smith took a very individualistic stance on his moral philosophy and on his political philosophy, when in reality it was far more complex and far more collective, because he saw that community and communion was very important, and that it was based on what some neuroscientists now would say on this mimicry. Right? If I see someone sad, I understand what being sad feels like. And that's also kind of the point for the intersubjectivity provided by Husserl. So, overall, integrating Adam Smith's theory of moral sentiment and Edmund Husserl's concept of intersubjectivity would require a more in-depth study and research. However, it is an interesting area to explore, and we can provide new insights into the nature of human experience and understanding of the world by looking at these two distinct theories that I don't know of being slapping them together and taking this broad view of like institutional economics, institutional political theory, and all of this and all the entanglement processes, and really understanding what is the nature of our communion with one another, especially if you're removing the communion from the triune Godhead. Thank you and have a good day.